May the fourth be with you. You've seen it on your Twitter, and you've seen it on your Facebook, or you've seen it or heard about it from somewhere. It is, of course, the anniversary of the premiere of the original Star Wars. So I thought it would be a nice opportunity for me to tell you a story, which is fairly unique. I was probably one of the first teenagers to see Star Wars. As some of you know, my dad was an executive at 20th Century Fox, and was able to bring me to the first screening they had for the executives at the studio. Now, I had heard about the film before. My father had told me about it. He brought home some photos from part of the shoot on, Tatooine, Luke Skywalker's planet. And I didn't know what to make of it. I mean, I was really much into science fiction, and I'd heard about it and I was sort of excited about it. But you look at this stuff, and with all these strange creatures and no special effects yet. But these strange buildings, everything's worn, and you didn't see much futuristic stuff. Maybe a little bit of the land speeder, but you had no reference point. Never didn't know what the heck this was all about. It looked really weird. And then he brought home the script, and the script. We know everything today. We know what the starfighters and the X-wing looks like. We know what Darth Vader looks like. We know what R2-D2 looks like, but I had no reference points, and it was really hard to go through the script. I want to read you a couple of parts of the script here from the very beginning, because it was really, it was really difficult to kind of get an idea of what was going on. And remember, right after the scrolling, information at the beginning of the film, it goes into a description. The awesome yellow planet of Tatooine emerges from total eclipse. A tiny silver spacecraft races into view, followed by a giant Imperial starship. Hundreds of deadly laser bolts streak out from the Imperial starship, causing the main solar fin of the rebel craft to disintegrate. The smoldering rebel ship is quickly overtaken by the Imperial craft. Well, we all can picture it, because we all know what the ships look like. There was no description of the ships here. So, you're left to your imagination of what the heck is going on. Then it goes into Imperial Rebel Space Fighter, main passageway. An explosion rocks the ship as two robots, R2-D2 and C-3PO, struggle to make their way through the shaking, bouncing passageway. Both robots are old and battered. R2 is a short, claw-armed tripod, quite different than the R2 we know today. Now, a couple of pages later, they introduce Darth Vader. The awesome 7-foot-tall Dark Lord of the Sith makes his way into the blinding light of the main passageway. This is Darth Vader, right hand of the Emperor. His face is obscured by his flowing black robes and grotesque breath mask, which stands out next to the fascist white armored suits of the Imperial stormtroopers. Everyone instinctively backs away from the imposing warrior. Well, again, we can picture it perfectly now, but when you think about it, there's not much description. There's a little bit more with Darth Vader. You can picture it in a vague way, but it's still very vague. I mean, getting through that whole script was really a struggle for me, and I didn't know what to think of it. And so when I didn't know what to think when we went to the screening. And interestingly enough about the screening, it didn't screen in the main theater at 20th Century Fox, because that theater was being used to mix what they thought would be their big science fiction film of the year, which is a now forgotten film called Damnation Alley. Totally forgotten. But that's what they did. So we had to go over to the MGM lot, now the Sony lot, to see the film there. And they didn't have the end credits on. I don't think they had the Star Wars opening yet, but they just went straight into the film with the scrolling, information. I remember, there comes that incredible shot with the starfighter comes over the screen, and you're just sort of enveloped in this thing. It was really amazing. But then they cut into the ship, and you see Darth Vader for the first time. And I'd love to say that I knew this would be the greatest film of all time, but those first few minutes, I still didn't know what to think. My first reaction to Darth Vader, when he started talking, I said, "Oh my God, is it this? This must be a really cheap film. They can't even get a mask, where the mouth would move. It's. I guess I was wrong. It was. I guess I was. But anyway, by the end of the film, you can see obviously it was an incredible film. Kind of got used to it at that point. And it went on to be the greatest film of all time. And I was very popular with my friends for a while because you couldn't get close to the theaters to see the film for a couple of months. And I was able to bring them to the studio to see screenings of the film. So it made me very popular for a very short period of time. Anyway, may the force be with you always.